Welcome to Ghostly.
Hey, that's my line.
Well, this is a different kind of episode. We need a different kind of opening.
What do you mean, different?
Well, this is our live show episode.
Oh, that's right. We did do that.
Yeah, remember we were in the room that was sold out?
At Elgin Fringe Fest.
Yeah, with Bob After Dark.
Yeah, not only sold out, though, can I say that there were people standing all over the place?
Yes, we had to give up our own chairs.
I didn't give up mine.
Well, no, but the rest of us did.
Oh, okay. And wow, and they actually turned people away, too.
There were people literally standing outside the windows with their hands on the windows looking inside.
Yeah, and I know in this recording, it only sounds like there was 15 people. But trust us, I'm not lying about this. I've lied in other podcasts about the audience. This time I didn't have to.
No.
You could watch our video up on Facebook that I plugged for Michael Rivers, your brother, that came out to play piano.
He did so great.
And that's why we didn't have the music in the front then, I guess.
Yeah, but don't worry. You're still going to hear it. This was a great episode. 2 super scary ghost stories.
Yeah.
Elgin Mental Health Center.
Ooh.
And Channing Elementary School. Both in Elgin, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not in Elgin, Florida?
Exactly. Not in
Elgin, Panama?
Australia. Though we
okay.
did have an Australian on the show.
Oh, yeah. I know you like that.
Yeah, it was fun. Good accent.
Yeah.
And there was
to Anthony.
there was a lot of debate in this episode.
There was a little too much debate.
Bob and Anthony were super, super excited to debate you.
Yeah. And, well, I kind of lie during the episode and I say that the skeptics, there was a lot more skeptics. No, I got my butt handed to me.
Well, you did get some help from a friend.
Yeah, Nick Mataragas from Freak of the Week helped me with the camera debate, which I've been wanting a photographer to come on the show for a while now, and it just so happened he was right in front of us.
Yep, he was there. So, but
probably to correct my grammar.
Well, I'm sure he was doing that
pronunciation.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good episode.
Yeah.
Lots of spooky history, lots of fun, and lots of good debate.
Absolutely. Oh, and you know what? We did this interview on the David Vox Mullen show.
Yeah. So there's a lot of ghostly to be had this week.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got interviewed
as Ghostly
for David Vox Mullen.
Yes.
We talk a lot about ourselves and kind of how we got to where we are with our beliefs or not beliefs, as the case may be.
Or maybe that people would think I was a believer after listening to that.
It's possible. We get into some science experiments.
Yeah.
Weird. Like, it goes deep.
It goes really deep. And, David Vox Mullen is a great host, too. He is the man of many talents, right?
He is. And he's a really strong interviewer.
He is. I felt really comfortable, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And he kept everything going.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. Maybe we'll hear more from him.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, he is kind of my friend, so I hope I still hear from him after that.
I hope so.
Oh, well, yeah. So, I guess we should...
It's time.
Why are you so happy sounding?
It's time for the polls.
No,
I'm always happy for the polls. Always happy.
This is a sad moment.
No, this is a really happy moment.
All right.
Yeah, remember when you took over Facebook and you posted our poll and were like, Team Skeptic, come on out.
I don't recall this.
So here's the end. We're calling it.
It's the end?
Yep, of this poll.
Oh, yeah, because you said it to keep going.
I know, I said it for like an extra week, but
I thought you meant it was the end of Ghostly.
No, end of the poll. We're calling it right now. 72% say Dillinger's ghost still haunts this earth. 28% no, it says no, it doesn't.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know what happened there. We were doing so good for so long.
What happened is the truth. The truth wins out. Mondo was here, man. Mondo believed me. I was convincing.
He stabbed me in the back. Speaking of something a little bit sadder, I do want to say that Podcoin is going under. They are shutting their doors. Pod doors, yeah. So if you are listening to us right now on Podcoin, just remember there are different spots that you can find us. You can go on ghostlypodcast.com, either click on the hamburger menu or you'll see it right up at the top, depending if you're on your computer or on your phone, and then click on Find Us. There's so many different ways that you can find us. I personally recommend Overcast. That is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have a different one.
I use Downcast.
Okay.
And actually, Podcoin recommends Castbox.
Yeah, I've tried Castbox. It wasn't my favorite, but that's because I like to automate a bunch of stuff. I do some crazy stuff with all the podcasts that I listen to.
Yeah, but really anywhere that you can listen to a podcast, you can listen to Ghostly.
Yes, we're even on Pandora.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're listening to us on Podcoin, they are going to go away as of the September 24th.
Yes.
So please go right now and subscribe to us somewhere else and make sure that you don't miss any Ghostly.
And make sure you cash in your pod coins too.
Absolutely.
We would recommend you give it to charity, but we understand everybody needs money. I mean, we need a lot more equipment, so we should cash in some of ours for some money for equipment.
Yeah, right. There you go.
All right, so what else is going on?
Okay, so I didn't tell you this, but I found the coolest thing today on Facebook.
Wait, you're going to do this during the recording of a show?
Yeah.
I didn't even have time to prepare anything.
You're going to love it, so I didn't even worry about it.
Okay.
I didn't even worry about it. I'm so excited about this. So I got one of those like Facebook ads for a thing called the Dark History and Horror Con.
What?
Yeah. Dark History and Horror Con is happening in Champaign, Illinois, so right in the Midwest, not too far from us.
Wait, do they have champagne there? Is that where they make the champagne?
It is not where they make it, but they probably have some.
Oh, okay. I don't even drink, but
Well,
in the episode, I sound like I've been drinking too.
Well, it's where University of Illinois is, so it's a college town. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
But it's happening the weekend before Halloween, so I think that's like the 24th, 5th, 6th, something like that.
Wait, I don't think I'm doing anything that weekend.
I don't think I'm doing anything that weekend. So okay, seriously, reading the description, it is like us.
It is us?
It is. There's going to be a lot of artwork, authors, comics, all things dark and creepy, it says.
Wait, I'm dark and creepy.
Right? And it talks about true crime, gangsters, serial killers. I mean, it's all of our stuff.
We really got to try to go.
Seriously, no, we're going to try.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll reach out to them.
I think you should. Because this is seriously amazing looking. So anyways, hopefully we'll end up being able to go. Maybe some of you guys will make it there too. We could
bring some buttons too.
Ooh, definitely.
You know, people loved our glow-in-the-dark buttons at Elgin Fringe, so.
They did.
Yeah.
It was cool.
All right. I don't think we have anything else. Oh, we do have one more thing.
Yeah. Just one. The most important things that people are trying to guess online.
Well, usually we save this to the end of the episode, so this is weird for me.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited. We've got our announcement. It is time, everybody, for Ghostly's exorcism.
We're going to get exorcised?
Yeah.
I have to exercise?
No, our October theme, everybody, is exorcisms.
Wow.
A month or 4 episodes.
Yeah, I'm going to say that because we decided, and we kept saying we're going to do all of our episodes. We're going to do one episode a week in October. There's 5 Wednesdays in October, so
that's a lot of exorcism.
We're still going to give you 5 episodes in October.
Right.
But one of them, the first one, will not be about any kind of exorcism.
No, it's going to be really good though.
Yeah, what is it going to be about?
It's going to be about the Biltmore.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's one of the hotels that was the basis for The Shining, the hotel in The Shining, with like the hedges and all that stuff outside. Super haunted, super
not
great,
haunted?
super totally haunted. Lots of ghost stories.
Wow.
Lots of good history. Been through a lot. So
can we find a skeptic to come on the show? Maybe.
No.
Okay.
No more skeptics.
So the dates though for the October episodes that are going to be the Biltmore is going to be on the 2nd.
Yes.
It's going to be October 2nd. And then the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and Halloween Eve, the 30th, will be all about
exorcism.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited. We're going to cover this thing from every angle.
Yes.
Interviews, history, real stories, and stories that are related to other stories. I'm excited.
I think we started off a little bit in the David Vox-Mullen interview as well, talking about my passion for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he cut it or not.
I don't know.
Because we told him it was top secret.
We did tell him it was top secret, but it's okay because now everyone knows.
Now the world knows.
Now the world knows.
Yeah. All of you, the Ghostly Society.
The Society of
Of Ghostly Gentlemen?
No,
I don't know. What?
We came up with the name for everybody, but
it was the Ghostly Society.
The Ghostly Society. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
And where does that come from? The Midnight Society?
Oh yeah, the Midnight Society. Right. Yes. Sorry. It's been a week. It's been a bit of a crazy week. Anyways, so yeah, the Ghostly Society is kind of like the Midnight Society where people go and they tell spooky stories in the woods. We just happen to tell it on podcasts.
Didn't they do that in the Dead Poets Society?
Yeah, it's a little bit. Their stories were a little different, but yeah it kind of like that.
All right. Well, you know what? I think we should let them hear what we did. I am so proud of this episode. Most podcasts, when they do live episodes, I don't really enjoy them. But this one is different. The audio quality is still pretty good. There are some feedback issues at a couple of points where Becca thinks it's a ghost. So, so I got to prove her wrong by, turning down the volume.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so here it is. Stay ghostly.
Bye.
Welcome to Ghostly. I got to adjust levels here. Thank you guys. And, why don't we give a round of applause for Michael Rivers for playing. Yeah. He plays all of our music on Ghostly, too. Yeah. So if you listen to Ghostly, he plays all of it. Sorry, I'm still adjusting levels here. Uh-oh. I don't want us to give you too much feedback here. Okay.
All right.
So, I have to ask this to start off the show. By the way, thank you guys for coming. It looks like we packed this place, right?
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah.
Introduce yourself. All right. He has a plan. Yeah. All right.
This is what we do in between our episodes is we go, hey, do this. And it's like, no, I have it planned. In just a second, please.
I don't trust him.
Yeah, she doesn't, no. So by a round of applause, how many of you believe in ghosts? All right, then I'm in the wrong place. How many of you are skeptics? Interesting, there's like 3 of you, but you're louder than the believers. I love that. So I am Pat. I am one of the hosts of Ghostly, and I am absolutely #Team Skeptic. So this is Rebecca next to me. She is #Team Believer. Why don't you introduce yourself, Rebecca?
Well, you just did.
I just did, but you could say a couple words.
Okay. Words? No. Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca, and I'm so happy to have all my believers in the house. This is so exciting. We're gonna have to tell some good ghost stories today.
Yeah, and that's what Ghostly is all about, is we are okay with skeptics and believers. We have a ghost podcast where you can debate ghost stories, and the listeners, you guys, get to decide if they're real or not.
Yes.
So we will be asking you at various times what you guys think. So I want you to applaud if you believe or not believe when we say it, okay?
All right.
Seems fair? All right, Rebecca, you were going to introduce?
Yes, we have a special guests with us today from Bob After Dark. Woohoo! All right. So, actually, you know what? I'm going to let you guys tell the audience a little bit about you and your show.
That's us.
Oh, we're on?
That's what we're on.
Go
We're on. You want to go first? You want to go first? I'll go first.
By all means.
Hi, guys. I'm Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Excellent. I'm glad to see some participants. I'm the host, creator, director of Bob After Dark. We are a show that primarily talks about the paranormal things that go bump in the night. Where we differ a little bit from Ghostly is we do talk about ghost stories, but we also talk about cryptid zoology, extraterrestrial activity, legends, lore, the supernatural, even the occult. Ooh, spooky stuff.
All stuff I don't believe in, just so you guys know.
Do you believe in halodays, Pat?
Some holidays,
Because
yes.
we will talk about the secret origins of holidays. We'll ruin Christmas for you.
Yay!
And alongside of me, as always, is my ever wonderful co-host from Australia, Anthony.
Oi.
G'day there. So before I start, my name's Anthony. I am from Australia.
Hi, Anthony.
True fact. In Australia, we don't say really hello. We say oi. So if everybody could do me a favor, because it really makes me feel like I'm at home, on the count of 3, if we can all have a big oi, okay? So 1, 2, 3.
Oi!
Perfect. I feel home now.
I'm so happy to have some backup believers with me today.
Pat is the odd one out. By the way, everybody up here is #believer except the odd one out.
Well, or you know what? I'm going to be honest. I think our pianist is also probably #Team Skeptic.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
he's here with
on
you
my
in
side, but he
spirit.
doesn't have a mic. Somebody get him a mic quickly.
I don't know how that happened. It just didn't. I don't know.
All right, so what we usually do with ghost stories is we go through a complete history of the ghost story. Today we're focusing on Elgin. Have you guys ever heard of Elgin, Illinois? No? Okay.
What's an Elgin?
So today we're going to, it's someplace close by here somewhere. I don't know. So today we're focusing on Elgin. So that's the history I'm going to be giving is the history of Elgin. And it's kind of short, but it really has an impact to the story here.
Well, I mean, the history of Elgin isn't short, but your version of it is short.
My version of
Okay,
the history is short.
gotcha. All right.
So we were researching Elgin, and what we realized is that this is one of the most haunted spots in the Midwest. And we did not realize that when we decided to do, Elgin as our topic. Thank you for turning the lights off.
Yes. Well, especially because what did we learn about the very place we're in?
Well, that's what I'm going to tell everyone
Okay.
in a second. So, yeah. So the Guilford brothers are noted as some of the first U.S. settlers of Elgin in 1835. So that was a long time ago, right? Pretty much, relatively.
I mean,
You
in
were
America.
around back then,
I
right?
was around.
You were around back then, yeah?
I was, yes.
Yeah, I wasn't around then. Like 1836 or so I was around, but not 35. So they were searching for a site on the stagecoach route from Chicago to Galena. Elgin got its name from the Scottish tune Elgin, which I've never heard. And from the lyrics I looked up, I can't pronounce a single word of that. So it says Elgin someplace in there. Elgin is 184 years old. I mean, the land isn't. The land is forever, but, Elgin itself is. In 1849, the Galena and Chicago Union Railroad reached Elgin, which later would be served by railroads running along both banks of the Fox River, linking the growing town to Chicago and other suburbs. That's cool, right? So there was a way to get to Galena from Chicago, and one of the stop-offs was Elgin. The town continued to thrive during the 1860s, both as a center of military production during the Civil War and because industrial enterprises began to use the water power of the swiftly flowing Fox River. Elgin was first known for its butter and dairy goods. If you guys have tried the oat milk coffee here, it's awesome. I loved it. Just want to put a plug in for Blue Box.
Blue Box.
Let's hear it for Blue Box, right? So they sold goods to Chicago. Gail Borden established a condensed milk factory here in 1866. You guys remember condensed milk?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's a while ago. I haven't had it in a long time. I think they still make it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But Elgin does not, sadly.
No.
The local library was named in his honor, Gail Borden. Then Elgin had its Elgin Watch Company, which actually it's better known for. They sold watches under the names Elgin, Lord Elgin, and Lady Elgin. I thought you guys would like that, being into all that's paranormal and stuff. Lord and Lady Elgin. Okay. The factory was torn down in the summer of 1966 after about 100 years of manufacturing great watches. The clocks at Union Station in Chicago still bear the Elgin name.
There you go.
Little fact about Elgin. Elgin was one of the communities around the Chicago metropolitan area affected by the 1920 Palm Sunday tornado outbreak of March 18th, 1920. That was an outbreak of at least 37 tornadoes, mostly over the Midwest. The tornadoes killed more than 380 people, and 1,200 were injured in that. This all seems like a typical city's origin, though, right? I mean, every city has their start and everything, but what makes Elgin more paranormal, I'm not going to say that it is because I'm not the believer, but is that the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Black Hawk Indian War of 1832 led to the explosion of the Native Americans who settled and their burial mounds in the area, and they set the stage for the founding of Elgin. Elgin is built on some of these exact burial grounds. Spooky, huh? So we know burial grounds, Native American burial grounds, probably not a good idea to build a house on, right? Okay, that being said, I thought that picking out ghost stories for this show was going to be pretty easy. I thought there would be one or two, but it turns out there is thousands of ghost stories of Elgin. In fact, we talked to the owner of Blue Box, and he said Blue Box is actually haunted.
Yeah, so you have a ghost around you right now.
Yeah, so a ghost is within our presence, maybe. Yeah, he's got a grilled sandwich, a grilled cheese sandwich, South Side coming out. All right, so Rebecca is going to start us off by telling us one of the ghost stories.
All right. So our first haunted Elgin location is Channing Elementary School. How many of you are familiar with Channing Elementary? We have a couple people. All right.
Wait, okay, that was the one that married Monica and lived across from Joey, right?
No, that was
okay.
Chandler.
Okay, that was the one in Magic Mike, right? That I never saw, honestly, never saw it.
That was Channing Tatum.
Okay, then I'm confused.
I definitely saw Magic Mike. Yeah. All right. There are a lot of spooky stories surrounding this place. There's a woman in white, your favorite, Pat, to creepy voices calling out. So there's been a lot of supernatural experiences at Channing Elementary School. So I just wanted to start with a little history about the land because as you'll see, it's definitely important. It plays a big part in our haunted stories. This historical information is based primarily, I got it from openelgin.com, Judy Van Dusen.
Let's hear it for openelgin.com.
Genealogical Society. So I want to give credit. So the land where Channing Elementary School is located used to be known as Channing Street Cemetery.
Uh-oh.
It was established in 1843, so, not too long after the town was built, when James T. Gifford donated the land.
One of the brothers that actually founded Elgin.
There you go. It was officially designated a public burying ground in 1845. Unfortunately, because it was located in the center of town, space was pretty much at a premium. They ran out of room. They couldn't really keep adding anything to it, and they really wanted the space. So they decided they were going to move it in 1888 they made Bluff City Cemetery, right, which is still there.
Which is haunted as well.
Also haunted, that future episode. Official cemetery. So interestingly, they started to contact the lot owners right in 1888, but they kept burying people there till 1906.
Oh.
So they contacted
great.
the lot owners, the families, obviously not the actual people in the they didn't contact the people that were buried.
Or maybe they did.
Maybe
Bob,
they.
do you
Maybe
have
that's
anything on that?
why.
Oh, look, man, let me tell you something about spiritual communications. It's totally doable, right? We got some boards in the car. We got some chicken's feet. We can conjure some up right
That's
now.
true. They could have talked to the people in
Absolutely.
buried there. At one point, there were 3,500 graves in Channing. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot. So now I'm just going to stop here. Any idea where the story is going? What do you
It's
guys
haunted.
think? It's haunted.
There's
but
a woman in
why is
white.
it-
There's orbs. There's
well,
some other
so I
stuff,
just told you
right?
though that they decided to move the cemetery and started calling people to be like, "Hey, you need to reinterment your loved ones." What do you think happened?
Nothing
Any guesses,
good.
guys? Yeah, let's see what happens. All right. Over the next 40 plus years, the city kept working to have the remains moved and had plans to make it a park. But the cemetery was officially closed in 1945, and they thought the removal was done in 1947. But as we kind of just guessed, right? It turns out that wasn't done, right? Oops. In 1949, 4 acres were dug up to make a playground, and basically they just moved the coffins with bulldozers. So, yep, they interviewed residents from that time who remember just seeing coffins broken up and remains just scattered on the ground.
Wait,
I've seen this movie before with what's his name, Coach.
Right,
What was his-
Poltergeist.
Yeah,
we did a whole episode
You just
on
told
this.
us the script of Poltergeist.
I did. I just told you this. I guess this is what they based it on. So, what better use for this land than an elementary school? Of course.
Of course. That makes perfect
That
sense.
makes
You do.
perfect sense. So, in 1969, Channing Memorial Elementary School, home of the Channing Cheetahs,
Go
was
Cheetahs.
built. Go Cheetahs, right? There's still one official grave left there. Some say there's 3, some sources I saw, but most just say 1 that's left there. It's the grave of William Hackman, an Elgin National Watch Company employee who died February 28th, 1885. In 1998, a new addition was built to the school for the school. The city hired a team of archaeologists to check the ground first because everyone at this point was kind of like, yeah, there's probably still some bodies there. We kind of just figured that out.
Maybe just 1 or 2.
Yeah. Well, yep, they found 2 full skeletons and 13 graves. So, and that was just, part of the land. And lastly, my favorite piece for the history part, occasionally a piece of coffin hardware, a tombstone fragment, or a bone is found on the school property.
Oh.
Yes.
By the kids, right?
I guess.
So they're out playing kickball. I'm imagining this. They're playing kickball, and all of a sudden they kick up some dirt, and there is a hinge to a coffin there.
Yep, pretty
I
much.
hate
Oh,
when
what's
that
this
happens.
bone? Is it an
Wow.
animal? No. No, it's not.
No,
Yeah.
it's Jim.
All right, so how are we doing so far? Pretty spooky, right? Yeah. All right, so now that's the official history, right? These are things. Now we're going to go into the land of the supernatural.
Land of the make-believe, as I call it.
Ooh.
Oh, Pat.
Shots fired down at the end.
All
Fired.
right. All right, so
Team
here are
Skeptic.
some ghostly sightings reported at Channing. Faculty and staff report that an elevator seems to move on its own. There are footsteps heard on the roof, dark figures seen, and even scratching on the walls. Any
See
thoughts?
Pat's head trying to explode over there.
I know.
Logical
what do you think,
explanations
Pat?
for all of it.
Do you believe?
No, I do not. So what I would say is once word got out that this used to be a cemetery, obviously people are going to be like, hey, I saw this, I saw that. Elevators moving. That's what elevators do. They go up and down. By
Not
the way.
on their own.
Now, if they went left and right, I would probably say there's something wrong there. So
They
no,
don't, they don't move on their own, though.
Well, they do sometimes. I mean, sometimes they're programmed to, like, when you get off on the 6th floor, it'll go down to the 1st floor to catch the next group of people. That's what happens. That's
I'm pretty
elevators.
sure if that was what was happening, they wouldn't report it that way. All right. Cold spots, right? Footsteps, sometimes screaming from the upper floor at night when no one else is around.
Sounds like a typical Friday for me.
At the elementary school.
Yeah, maybe not so much at the elementary school. To me, cold spots can be like a microclimate. There is cold spots all over the place. I was just down the block by the public house, and I got really hot all of a sudden after a couple of beers. I mean, it just was like I got super, super hot, right?
If you were walking and all of a sudden there was just this weird random cold spot that in fact, I know you've experienced this before. So
I would be thankful, actually, because I sweat all the time like a pig. Yeah. So I would actually be like, oh, yes, I want to stay here. I want to move here.
Have either of you guys ever experienced cold spots?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Specifics?
I don't know. Where
Yes, that's what we do. We talk.
Well, we also do. We also do
Investigations a lot.
Yeah,
so
that's what I
paranormal
figured. You guys
one of
might
my
have
one
some-
of my favorite ones actually just happened recently. So we were out on Archer Avenue hunting down Resurrection Mary.
Our first episode was on Resurrection
Probably
Mary.
the most famous ghost
Yeah.
story in Chicago.
Right? Have you guys heard that story?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. You
All
should
right.
definitely go check that place out. It's super spooky.
So, because I'm going to want to make Patrick's head explode over there. So, we're at the cemetery gates, right? And as we're standing at the gates, all of our equipment starts to malfunction and act really wonky. To start with the cold spots, we used the old laser thermometer, and the temperature dropped was at 17 degrees from
Yes.
from where we were to like right past the gate, Mr. Microclimate.
And also, a little bit off topic, but whilst we were there, one of our other pieces of machinery, it's basically almost like a picks up voices and picks up transmissions from the other side, was replaying
Me.
Bob's voice over and over on a loop cycle
Yeah,
out of
and
the
you
blue.
could replay any ghostly episode. Just go re-download it, and you can just play it over. You can put it on a loop too. So is that what they were doing?
That was really strange. Well, no, it was on a loop of just the introduction of my voice playing through the EVP.
I actually watched this video too, and I was yelling at the phone as I was watching this video. Yeah, but no, I'm not-
I also watched video. It was scary.
Thank you. There
yeah.
was legitimately horrifying parts to that entire adventure, but the cold spots, I'm telling you. So from the moment here's me, here's the gate, here's past the gate. So the second I put my hand through the gate, it becomes instantly colder. So we shined the old laser thermometer, and we came up 17 degrees colder from
Right.
literally right past the gate.
Wow, and I'd imagine that you calibrated it that day, right?
Oh, we
And
did.
you
Actually,
QC'd it?
no, we did. Well, we legitimately, we have it on video too. So if you actually watch the video,
I did watch
you'd-
the video.
You'd
How
see
could
us.
they find the video, by the way?
Oh, you want us to do that now?
You could do it now.
So you can go to facebook.com/Bob After Dark, or if you just want to skip over the Facebook part, just go to bobafterdark.com. All of the videos are archived down there, especially our haunt recently with Resurrection Mary. But on that video, there is footage of us calibrating the equipment and showing that it was working, where it was supposed to. We took the EMF and scanned it over phone lines, power lines, to show that the meter would go up if we were by electricity. We're
Yes.
scientists, basically.
And does everybody know why there are cold spots? Like why that happens?
According to Patrick, there's
Microclimate.
microclimates.
Microclimates. So basically, the theory is that when a spirit is trying to manifest or is in the area, basically, a spirit is made up of energy, just like we are, but it's a different type of energy and a different type of vibrational pattern that the spirit manipulates in their world. So they're basically sucking out the heat and sucking in that energy, leaving our atmosphere cold spots or microclimates.
Microclimates.
Nice.
Okay, you guys are
See, I need him
officially
on
off the show
every
now.
time.
That's it. No, just kidding. Just teasing.
You guys can catch us. The Bob After Dark show is going to be out front of the blue box here in 30 seconds. We'll use our phones. We're
Do you
taking
have any
Rebecca
more
with
ghost
us.
stories?
I do. I have a couple more.
Okay.
So these are some specific accounts that people have posted about. So we have someone who wrote in the Observer, who wrote, "Growing up, I remember hearing weird and creepy stories all the time of people that attended the school and from others that had simply heard some stories. These stories would often include people claiming to see a ghostly figure of a woman in white roaming the halls."
Can I just toss out there that I'm very proud that you were able to fit the word ghostly into your notes for the show?
I mean,
I just wanted to point that out. So I'm sorry. Go
thank
on.
you. And it's actually just a quote from somebody else. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Pat's favorite. He likes the women in white.
So in a lot of our ghost stories, there's a woman in white.
I don't know why they're
I
always
think
in
she's
white.
the same woman. She just goes around, yeah, and she hears what we're going to do an episode on and just shows up there right beforehand.
It's possible. It's
So
possible.
that, yeah.
So the woman roams the halls. They would catch a quick catch a quick glimpse of the woman, but she would suddenly disappear before they could get a good look at her. Students would be walking through the halls alone and suddenly feel chills. There's the cold spots. They would feel a haunting presence behind them, and if they turned to look, there would be no one there. So the students themselves also report feeling ghostly presence at the school.
Have you ever been a kid?
I've heard that I was. Mike, can you nod? Was I a kid at some point?
Yeah,
Yes, okay,
so
you would know.
yeah, when I was a kid, I used to tell people that I wanted to be a saint because I wanted to be Saint Patrick. So kids say the darndest things, right? So yeah,
They also speak the truth often.
Sure.
You know, kids are also the most spiritually sensitive out of everybody, right?
Yes, they are.
Sure.
All right. I got one more. This one's my favorite. So, Becky Vickers of Beck's Ghost Hunting wrote about her experience at Channing in November of 2016, so not that long ago. She was visiting Elgin, and Channing was one of the places she investigated. She was with a local friend of hers and Ghostly's good friend, Tony Zabelski. I always say his trademark.
He's not such a good friend that we can't remember his name.
I feel
guess.
so bad. Zabelski.
Yeah.
Zabelski. I'm gonna get it.
He was going to be here tonight. He does
was.
tours of Bluff City Cemetery.
He
as
does,
well.
and
So look him
obviously,
up. He's awesome.
He's amazing, and he does tours in the city too.
Yes.
Chicago haunting tours.
I believe that's
he's
it.
great.
Yes.
He was on our Eastland disaster episode from July, so you should
July,
check
yeah.
that out. Okay, so she writes that they kept thinking they could hear children, even though it was late on a Monday night, so, no kids around. Her equipment kept malfunctioning, so when you were talking about that, when they were by the last remaining tombstone that I mentioned earlier. And they had a lot of communication on their equipment, including their flashlights. And one last thing, of course, they recorded one of the clearest EVPs that I have ever heard of a child saying, "I want to go." I listened to it over and over again. It was terrifying. Like, you could clearly
hold on, he
hear.
was getting ready to talk there. Look at it.
I-
He's ready.
Yeah, maybe it was a kid that wanted to go to Great America or something. They just
I
want to
go
have some
home.
fun. I want to go.
I want to go home. Is what
I
they
didn't.
said.
I didn't hear the home part. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I wasn't paying attention. to the thing.
Yeah. Often.
One part.
Are you just wired in to hear like the skeptic to come in? You don't hear the whole story. It's just
Yes.
like EVP.
What did you say?
Bam! When we talk about that.
What'd you say? I can't hear you. Yeah. Weird acoustics, right? No, that is pretty spooky. What do you guys think? Do you guys
Yeah.
think?
What would you say?
Do you think that place was really haunted? By applause, please.
You're thinking it's haunted. I think you might have won some skeptics, some believers over.
All right. What about you non-believers? I wanna hear it loud. Obviously, 10 times as many skeptics as there was believers. I just want to say I did an awesome job with that. Great. No, so that's all we have for
Yeah, that's what we got. Well, and I just want to mention too, so typically after we post an episode, we post a poll on our Facebook page. So we always want to hear what our listeners think of our stories and which side they land on, and I usually win.
She usually wins.
So I like
So
it.
please, those skeptics that I heard, please follow us on Facebook and just vote like Nick does right here. Nick, can you wave to the people? Yeah, he's like the only person that votes on my side. So I need some.
To be
some
fair,
help.
I did vote skeptic on one of your
Oh, which
episodes.
one?
What?
The Easter Island Massacre. I legitimately voted skeptic on that.
Which one?
The Easter Island episode in July.
Eastern disaster.
Eastland disaster.
Sorry, Eastland.
I'm
My
like,
bad. Easter Island. I'm sorry, tired.
But now
Eastland.
I know what the next episode is
Easter
going to
Island.
be. Easter Island.
Easter Island disaster. No, the Eastland. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's good.
No, but I legitimately voted
Well
skeptic
done,
on
Bob.
that.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
Sometimes he wins. Okay.
All right, so I think we're going to turn it over to Bob After Dark. They have another story that is even spookier.
All right. So are you guys familiar with Mobile? I'm joking.
What?
Mobile, Alabama. That's totally.
Yeah, the leprechaun out there.
We asked for an Elgin story.
Oh, we got it. Did you bring notes?
No,
Oh.
I bought a book.
Oh.
right.
But
Then you better start making up some
Ye
stuff.
of little faith. I have some notes.
Oh, every week on Bob After Dark, because we're a weekly show, I usually give Anthony some level of crap because he doesn't come prepared sometimes.
It's all up here.
We base our show. We have weekly news stories that we talk about once a week, and I'm like, Anthony, come with 3 news stories. Comes with nothing. Sometimes two, sometimes none. But every time he comes with it, he gives me the ye of
little faith.
So we're actually talking about the Elgin Mental Health Center right here in.
Yes. Who
Spooky.
of course has heard of this? Have you been by? Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty close to here, isn't it?
Very much.
It is very close to here.
Yeah.
So fun
There's
fact.
some don't pick up. I was going to say my favorite part about that is always there's the don't pick up hitchhikers signs.
Yes.
Right. By.
There is that sign by any prison or any mental health institution.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
grew up right down the street from the state penitentiary,
Ah.
and we
That
had
explains a lot, Bob.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. But fun fact about the health center before we continue: for skeptics or believers, the place does have a pretty whacked background in history. So it's actually voted on a lot of websites as one of the most haunted hospitals in America, right here in Elgin. So who would
Wow, way to
Well
go,
done, Elgin.
Yeah.
Well done.
Wait till
Elgin wins.
you won't be clapping once you find out why it's one of the most haunted. But let me give you a little background. So the mental health operated in the state right here in Elgin. Its purpose changed over the years from treating the mentally ill, the criminally insane, tuberculosis, to even acting as a side project for the VA. So they would take veterans that were suffering from PTSD and other forms of mental illness from combat. They would take them for free if the VA was busy to help.
Well, what about like hosts that get picked on the whole time during a show? I mean, would they help me, you think?
Pat, you can take one
My
of my cards.
PTSD?
You can take one of my cards. Well, you can give us a call. We'll listen to you.
I'm going to put that in my bag.
Okay.
Now, the creepy part about the mental institution itself or the mental health center isn't the actual center itself. It's what was there. So the facility you can go and see now is still a regular operating facility. But once upon a time ago, there was infirmaries scattered all around the main building that have now since 1992 have been demolished. The creepiest part though is the cemetery attached, because every ghost story needs a cemetery.
Needs a good old
Yes,
cemetery.
yes, it does.
Now you got a little bit of info on the cemetery itself.
Bless you. It's horrible. No. So
Well, maybe.
to kind of talk about the cemetery, it kind of goes hands in hand with the institution as well.
Yes.
The institution was built in 1870, and like Bob said, many people went there. We have to think about treatments that were done for mentally ill people at that stage. It was the beginning stages. So treatments like it was called a Utica crib, was basically like a child's crib with bars around it. So the people that were treated were basically confined without moving. Lobotomies. People were actually 48 patients there were actually treated and injected with radium for trying to cure, but the only thing that did was basically shorten their lives.
But it probably made them glow in the dark like the buttons we just gave you.
Sure.
Shout out for the buttons.
There you go. Seizure therapy was done there, inducing seizures where broken bones would happen. So a ton of people died in that area, and they were buried in the cemetery, which actually backs up right to the old golf course, which is always nice. Anybody get a birdie? Boom, there's a couple of tombstones right
Wow.
there.
Is it still active? Do people still play golf there?
Yeah, the golf
Wow.
course is. I think it's the Hinsdale Golf Course. I believe it's
Okay.
called. Is that
I don't
right,
know.
guys?
Well, it's called the Hillside Cemetery.
Hillside.
Hillside.
The Hillside
There you go.
Cemetery,
Hillside.
and then there's the
Right, so
golf
it's
course.
actually
Yeah,
right.
okay.
If you go there, it's basically right back to back.
Wow.
Now that cemetery houses about
974 graves there. Most of them are unmarked, and
Right.
the ones that are marked are actually made from the hospital's brick and mortar little blacksmith shop, masonry shop that was used for the hospital, because most of the people that were buried in the hospital cemetery were wards of the state or people that didn't have, like the families didn't have money to bury them, so they'd get buried in the hospital cemetery. Now, the worst part about it was stories say that there were sometimes 4 people to one grave buried at that grave site. So imagine 974, and maybe some of the lucky ones got some of those brick and mortar gravestones, and most of them didn't. So you go out there now, there's a little plaque that the city county put up that said in remembrance of the people buried there, because the last group of people that were buried there were not much longer after the turn of the century. But after they shut down the cemetery, quit burying, there is a plaque there saying in remembrance of the people that are buried there without the gravestones and grave sites or markers saying that they were there.
Right. And as far as the real spooky part of it, orbs have been seen there. Anybody know what an orb is?
It's light.
It's light.
Dust.
Okay.
It's dust particles in the lens, according to Patrick.
Or moisture.
Moisture.
Yeah.
Cold.
That's what it is.
Cold,
Now,
cold spots.
are these photos with orbs?
I
we're
believe
talking
there's some
about?
photos
There's,
and
yep,
there's,
spiritual,
there's and there's paranormal researchers that actually have gone there and photographed this. Cold spots as well. EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon, has been caught there, and there's actually also been an EVP on a few occasions of a dog barking.
Oh.
Now, what they suspect and what people believe is a story that this dog was one of the guard dogs of one of the actual security that would work there that passed on whilst on duty. And so the EVP of the dog could hear. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
sad.
pretty spooky.
There's some stories of a groundskeeper before he retired. He shared a lot of his stories from when he was there.
Did he have a hook for an arm?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
One-armed Willie.
No, so he shared some of his stories. He said he'd be walking along the areas that were unmarked graves, and he said he would just start feeling waves of unconditioned sadness, where he would just be walking and then just automatically start feeling sad, feeling emotionally heavy, if that makes sense.
Wow.
He mentioned the demonic dog he heard would be barking, and often he would see pictures of a ghostly face that he would take himself, or he would see. I had to throw in the word ghostly, by the way.
Thank you.
So he would take pictures, and he would actually see puffs of smoke pop up, or what he would consider a puff of smoke that would be of a ghostly face. I read some stories about a group of paranormal investigators that went there illegally. By the way, for all of the junior investigators out there, as I call you guys the ghost cadets, do not go to that cemetery after dark unless you have prior permission from the Elgin Police Department or the hospital. You will get fined, and you may get put in handcuffs. So these guys went there illegally, which
hate
means
the
I'm
way
not
that happens.
Can you go during the
Experience?
day?
No, I'm quoting them directly.
Yes,
Oh,
Patrick.
okay,
Yes,
okay,
we
gotcha.
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Their names were Bob and Anthony. I mean, so they went out there and did some spiritual photography, which in a long sense means they set up a camera on a tripod, opened up the exposure to see what they would find. And in those photos that they would take, they found orbs, they found ghostly faces. And the crazy thing is they decided to start doing some recording. And the second they clicked the record button, they started hearing sirens. And they immediately ducked down and tried to go into hiding, thinking that the police were coming to arrest them. The sirens kept going, and they kept hearing it, but no ambulance, no police car showed up. And they put it up as a ghostly ambulance that was making those noises.
So what one of my thoughts is about opening up the exposure. Do we have any photographers in here? Oh, we have one. So what would happen if you open up the exposure really wide? Does it let in more light?
Yes, that's the point.
So orbs lets in more light. So that right there gets my skeptic senses tingling.
But I'm going to argue with you there for one moment. So when you let up on the shutter speed and you let open a lot of the light for orbs to make an appearance, the idea is that the whole frame or the whole photo may become more overexposed if a flash of light was to happen. The idea in spiritual photography is if you were able to catch just even a dot and it doesn't overexpose the entire photo, then you may have actually caught something that's centralized.
What do my camera people say about that?
This is it.
I mean, it's
Nick,
much
you want to
more-
come up here?
Sure.
Oh, wow. He is pulling up.
Nick Mataragas from Freak of the Week. In memoriam right after this, by the way.
So you're talking about taking photos at night at the cemetery, right?
Yes.
So you're opening up the exposure, which means you're taking a long exposure.
Yeah.
Which means that when you get light that seems like it's coming from an unexplained source, what happens is any small light source can get picked up on a long exposure, which means it would be picked up, but the person who's holding it or the thing that's causing it may not. It's like light writing in dark photography.
I agree.
So it can come from anything.
Yep. And a lot of the times those photos are debunked with bugs.
Right.
Dust particles, but there are plenty of times that those photos can be not answered. And
Well, sure, you can't answer because unless you're actually there during that entire long exposure time, you don't actually get to see what it is.
how do you explain faces then?
How do I explain
faces.
ghostly images?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a similar idea. A long exposure person can come in for just it depends on how long the exposure is, obviously, but it could be if it's a 3-minute exposure, if they come in and they look at the camera for 2-3 seconds, you're going to get a ghostly image of a face instead of a full crisp image.
I like how you
because
use
they're
the
not
word
there
ghostly
entire
there,
time.
by the way. We're going to keep a ghostly
This
counter.
is good. So, Pat, this is what we should do, I think, for all of our episodes is bring in people to argue for us. Right? Like seconds? Right? So it's like we don't have to.
Yeah, and we just sit back and
bring
go,
in-
yeah.
Yeah. What that guy said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's hear it for Nick.
Yeah. Let's hear it for Bob After Dark and Anthony. Sorry, Team Believer. I gotta back you up. I'm sorry. I know you. Do you have a few more?
I do, if we have time.
We do, yes.
We do have time.
Okay, so the inside...
Time, yes.
So these infirmaries and these other parts of the hospital that were knocked down in the early 90s were actually subjected a lot of times to urban exploration. I don't know if you guys know what urban exploration is. It's a group of people that'll go out and explore abandoned or unused buildings, usually for art purposes. The graffiti artists will go in there and spray paint. Photographers will go in there and get pictures of decay. It's actually a pretty cool art movement. Extremely dangerous, by the way. There's things
You're
called...
giving a lot of ideas to a lot of people, Bob.
Well, may I point out that Bob After Dark is not responsible for any damages or injuries or that result from urban exploration or paranormal investigation. Anyway, so, and don't catch mesothelioma. So these urban explorers that were in there in these different buildings before they got knocked down would be reporting weird things happening within these buildings, such as flashing lights, screams, scratches, footprints, shadowy figures, ladies in white.
Oh no, not this again.
Always.
And my personal favorite, that was told by 5 different people that were not in relation to each other. They said they walked into one of the buildings, they turn around, and in just a few moments, they would see the wall actually start leaking blood.
I hate when that happens.
Wow.
Sound-
It's cinema tonight.
It
what
sounds
we're
pretty
talking
standard,
about.
though, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Walls leak blood. That's what they do, right?
So these buildings were knocked down just not because of anything paranormal. These buildings were knocked down just because they were in use, and they were not in use, and they were pretty much decrepit and falling apart. So don't think they knocked them down due to any paranormal experiences. But the people that were there post the time would then have these experiences.
I was gonna say, would you say that the energy would stay in the location even if the building is knocked down?
Well, funny you ask. We actually have some research to kind of back this up.
Oh, well, I just
like
legitimately
research.
had that question. Not leading.
So, there's a couple theories of what a ghost or a spirit might be, and even you
Not Casper. Not Casper.
Not Casper. So even you,
I like Casper the best.
so even you skeptics have to understand that there is such a thing as energy, right? You guys can't argue with me that energy is a thing that exists.
I will say energy does exist, yes.
And there are theories in physics saying that when you enter a space, your energy always kind of lingers there. You were there. There's a thought that pops up, and God, there's a fly here. Paranormal experience.
The
That's
ghost
another
fly.
skeptic, actually.
Oh yeah, the
coming to
fly
attack
is
you.
trying to come over and tell me stop talking about physics. So in physics, they say that when you think of a memory that's sparking some sort of energy, right? Or the idea that you were here prior, you're always leaving some sort of trace left behind. What it might be, there's a lot of debate what it is, but they're saying that the energy you leave behind doesn't actually go away or dissipate, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. So some people, the skeptics in the room, may believe that spirits aren't actually some form of entity, but maybe just some residual energy left behind that people leave when they're no longer with us. Right. And it just kind of sparks up. I've heard a lot of skeptics use that argument.
I mean, I would say it would be very minimum amounts of time, though.
Sure.
I mean, not like 100 years or so, I wouldn't say, no.
Energy still sticks around. Energy can't be created or destroyed. That's physics.
Energy is used for everything. It's used.
Sure. So,
and it transforms into our movement. It's transformed into making the coffee back there. All this is energy. All this is taken from the universe. It doesn't just stay there forever.
Well,
can I drop my mic?
No. Well, I agree with you. The energy, yes. There's still residual energy left behind, and some people believe that's what ghosts actually are.
I'm guessing you're thinking you're going to go somewhere else with this. That's what it's
No, I was going to say, so if you knock down the building, the residual energy would still be there.
Aha.
Yes. And, when we think about hospitals, when we think about haunted locations, if you think about it, there's so much death that occurs in hospitals. There's life being reborn. So these energies intermingle and almost create a mass amount of energy for other energies to change forms and move on.
Yeah, but in order to make this work with the scientific principle that you guys are bringing up, it must be able to be recreated and examined. None of these things can be recreated or examined upon command.
Right. If we kind of go into the energy and touching upon quantum theory and quantum mechanics, when they first kind of started messing around with those theories, two scientists looking at the atom, right? Now, I'm no scientist, but you got your atom, you got your electrons, correct? So basically, the experiment was that one of the scientists looked under the electron microscope and said, "Oh, look at the atom. The atom is moving clockwise." So then the other scientist had a look at the same electron microscope, and he said, no, it's not. It's actually moving counterclockwise. They redid the experiment, same thing. So that kind of goes into the theory of energy is manipulated by our thoughts, and kind of goes into, I won't go into the spiel of it, but of quantum mechanics and quantum theory. So that in turn, I think on a scientific level can explain a little bit of like what energy is and how it's manipulated. And so if our mind and our hearts are the biggest electromagnetic conductors in this plane of existence, then why can't the spirit move on to a different plane and continue on with that electromagnetic? Because realistically,
I've been wanting to say this to you for a while.
Yeah, I think he's prepared for this. I slept in today, so I didn't. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I do understand where you're coming from, but that is also assuming that there is a spirit, that there is a soul, that there is everything else. I'm Buddhist, so I don't necessarily believe that concept. So I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you on that.
There was also a study done at Berkeley University about death. And
bunch of hippies. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. I'm probably closer to that.
So there was a study about what happens to you when you die, right? And Berkeley came to a conclusion that was basically a not conclusion. They said when you die, your physical essence, right, your body stops functioning, but your conscience itself kind of lingers a little bit.
And how did they do this experiment? What equipment did they use to measure that?
They were actually measuring near-death experiences and how brain waves react to both near-death, post-death, and people that actually survive these near-death experiences. And if you'd like, there's a whole, Berkeley actually captured an entire log of thousands and thousands and thousands of near-death experiences.
So you're saying barely any, right?
No, there was lots. But here's the wild part, and this is where I think the debate becomes really interesting of what exactly is a spirit, especially in this hospital situation, is a lot of these near-death experiences, some people say when that was their time, black, nothing. Some people said they saw a flash of light, which they then proved it might be some neurons acting goofy. But some people believed that they saw the room around them and they were able to explain, while brain dead, legally and medically brain dead, what the doctors were using as far as equipment and what they were doing to their bodies, just wild things that they wouldn't know being unconscious. So what exactly is a ghost? What is a spirit? It could be, there's really no answer. And I think that's the beauty
There's
of
really no proof.
There's really not. It's pseudoscience. It's no different than cryptozoology, paranormal investigations.
It's all in blind faith, and if
Yep.
that's what you believe, that's what you believe.
Well, I think blind faith maybe is a bit extreme, though.
I
I mean,
think-
obviously, it's based on some ideas.
So, okay, what do you guys think? Is
Yeah,
the
is it
Elgin
what we
Mental
need?
Health Center, is that haunted?
Yes.
All right, how about my skeptics here? Is it not haunted?
Again, Nick is applauding. Yes.
There had to be like 20,000 people clapping with the skeptics. I just am saying. So we want to open this up for a couple of questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Or stories to tell?
They got to be kind of quick, but something.
Yeah. What do we got? We got a little time. No rock. All right. Here we go.
All right. Do you want to come up, Anthony? Can you share your mic with them? Maybe take it
Certain-
off the stand.
Certainly.
There you go. Oh, wait. Whoa.
Here.
Things went crazy.
Has there ever been an experience that challenged you as a skeptic? And has there ever been an experience that challenged you as a
Oh.
believer?
Ooh, nice. Good
So
ones.
I was not always a skeptic. I was actually.
Whoa.
That's not a ghost. That is not a ghost. I'm just going to put that out there.
There we go.
All right. So I was not always a skeptic. I was actually a big believer at one point. I was a pagan, actually. I did rituals. I did all these things. And then one day I was at a Buddhist temple, and I had an experience there that really I was like, this is proof that there is something. And I talked to the monk, and they said, that too will pass. And I said, what? And then there's a story by a Zen Buddhist monk named Dogen. And Dogen stated that he had a student come to him, and the student said, I don't think I'm going to be able to be enlightened today. Everything is so cloudy. And they said, that too will pass. Next week, the student came to him and said, you know what? I really feel like I've reached enlightenment. And Dogen said to him, that too will pass. So that is my belief going forward from that. My experience there was not proof to me. It was just a random occurrence that happened. But it did question, my newfound thing. And I struggle with that idea. And that's the reason why we have Ghostly, is because I want to believe. I want to have proof that's presented to me that is solid. It's just, there is no proof of ghost. at
No
this
matter
point.
how much proof I show you, just never gets there. No, for me, so I'm going to go back to middle school, right? So I would always have a sleepover for my birthday, and my mom would always get some sort of board game for us to play. And one year she got basically a box of paranormal, things to do. I don't know why. I don't know.
like
I guess-
most middle
I will
schoolers do.
say, at 8 years old, I convinced my mother to rent children or watch her in the woods. I was like, it's Disney. It's terrifying. But anyway, so we did all these activities. We actually even did light as a feather, stiff as a board with one of my friends and got her up to our chest area. Yep. So all believers at this point. So we decided to do a mental activity where you take a toothpick and you put it in the box, and then everyone sits around and you think at the toothpick. Telekinesis, right? Is that where you make it move? Yeah. So we're going to make it happen. Yes. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden it rolls. Screaming. My friend Kristen diving into my lap, just terror everywhere. And then you look and you see my friend Courtney laughing and laughing. And all I did was just go very quietly. And to this day, she regrets telling us, because we would have still been believers that we made that thing move with our minds. But that was a moment where I questioned belief.
Not any of the episodes that we've done. You question your belief. Bob, Anthony?
Any stories that made
Yeah.
you question?
So part of what we do in the show is we talk about cryptid zoology and we talk about cryptids, right? If you got real brief, what is a cryptid? It's basically your generic monster story, werewolf, Bigfoot, etc., right? Okay. So I went and I was doing some research about this cryptid that was terrifying this town.
Mobile, Alabama?
You got it.
There's a leprechaun there, I hear.
Ooh, that story made me a skeptic, but no. I heard the research. I heard the reports, the whole nine. I went and sat in the woods. It was midnight. This was years ago when I first started studying this because of my origins and seeing the Mothman and etc. I'm like, yes, this might be what I've been looking for. Sat out in the woods till midnight, and I'm telling you, this entire town believed what they were seeing that night. And I went and sat out in those woods and nothing except caught a cold. So I went and basically answer your question. I followed mass hysteria to nothing. And that made me question a bit, but I've seen things since to bring me back to #TeamBeliever.
Okay. Anthony?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Maybe.
That's fine.
I was born to believe. No, I mean, like Bob said, we've done investigations. I've seen things that I can't explain. Can I call them paranormal? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Do I love to believe? Absolutely. And the reason why I do believe, because those things that I have seen are very much not explainable on this level of existence. So, but as we go into investigations, we always kind of go in there with a little bit of a skepticism, because
Thank you for that.
as the human, and you have to have that skepticism, because if you do go into a situation or do believe that this place is haunted, then we are trained to kind of lean towards that. So every little thing can be, oh, it's a ghost, where in fact it could be something else. But on the other end of the spectrum, there are very, very much a lot of things that I've seen personally that are on that #TeamBeliever scale. Yeah.
Well, I would say if you ever have a paranormal investigator and have a need for one, whoa, geez, I don't know what's happening. But always be wary of one that says that they always find something, because
Yes,
usually it is something else.
there's a big difference between what I like to call blind believing and having some understanding and believing. I'm an understandable believer. Every investigation I go on, ever since my mass hysteria catching a cold, every investigation I do, every story I research, I pick it up and I say, this never happened. And then I base my research, my investigations, and I let that sway me from there. Every story I research, every investigation I go on, I'm going to say, I'm not going to see anything, nothing's here. And then I let the universe change my mind.
Well, awesome. Well, it is time for us to wrap this up. I'm sorry, guys. Wish we could ghostly all night with you guys, but we can't, because I've been beaten up and I have PTSD now from this episode. So, first of all, I would like to thank Elgin Fringe Festival for having us. We are big believers in the Fringe.
Yes.
Also, I would like to thank Blue Box for having Elgin Fringe Fest here.
Yeah.
Chris has been amazing to us. So if you're in Elgin ever, definitely stop by the Blue Box and get yourself some of that oat milk coffee. It is so good. I'd also like to thank Michael Rivers again from driving here from Appleton.
Yeah. He's going to play a little bit more here soon.
And lastly, I would like to thank Bob After Dark. Bob, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
Before I do that, I know we're cutting it close, but I just wanted to say thank you to the Ghostly Podcast. On behalf of us, this is our first live experience, so they gave us an opportunity, and these guys are the best podcasters you're ever going to hear. So,
Thanks.
So
This is our first live show, too, so.
these guys deserve all my thanks. But if you guys are interested in Bob After Dark, the show that basically takes the Johnny Carson route of the paranormal. You can listen to us live every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. BobAfterDark.com for more details.
And they actually do a live video of their show too. So they are on the radio. They do Facebook Live. So definitely get on there and you can participate. You can talk to them while they're doing the show.
We have a phone line you can call into that's live, and we're under FCC regulations. But you can call and talk to us live, and we also have a chat. So you guys can chat with us while we're doing the show, and you can call in.
And then I just wanted to mention you can find Ghostly at ghostlypodcast.com. Of course, you have that on the flyers that we gave you. And also on basically anywhere that you find podcasts, you can find
when
us.
you're looking for the podcast, just search for Ghostly. When you're looking for anything on social media, we're Ghostly Podcast. You can also go to ghostlypodcast.com. Click up at the top. There's either a hamburger menu or you're going to see all the options. Click Find Us. You'll find all the spots to be able to just start listening to us right away.
Yeah, including this episode, hopefully be coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yes, this episode will be coming out probably Wednesday.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you guys want to hear it and relive this moment that I am in terror of, you guys can.
And I had one more thing. If there's any other Fringe folks here tonight that have shows that want to give them a little plug to the audience here, take a second.
Yes.
My name's Jacob Mayfield. I'm doing a mind reading and mentalism show at 10:30. So if you like this style of performance, come check it out. Should be a fun time.
Where are you going to be?
Elements Loft Preserve.
Ooh, nice. Awesome. Anybody else got a show?
I think Nick does. And I think I will be playing guitar in it too. So if you guys want to see that, come along.
Yeah, so in memoriam, 7:30, so right after this at the public house. And yeah, Pat's going to be playing guitar. Don't not show up because he's a skeptic. Please come and see our show.
All right.
Wait, there's one more.
There's
I know
one
it's
more.
not today, but do you want
yes.
to talk about your show?
The Night Moose. All right, we have all day, Steven.
Come on.
So.
Night Moose Improv. We're doing some things tomorrow at 3. Or is that right, Katie? Yes, that's correct. All right, 3 at Elgin Public House. We make up a bunch of stuff that we made up in the back of a van once, so come see us do stuff.
All right, thank you guys very much. Without you, we'd be nothing. So thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
And remember, stay ghostly.
Bye.